It was July 22nd, 2011, and on a small island of Utoya, chaos erupted. Almost 70 bodies lay scattered along the shore, and only one man was responsible for that. At 5:17 p.m., a man stepped off the ferry onto Utoya. To those who greeted him, he appeared unremarkable, a man in a police uniform, carrying a bag and a rifle. No one suspected what was about to unfold. Earlier that day, he detonated a car bomb in Oslo. Diverting police attention away from the island, this gave him a chilling head start to carry out his plan. Utoya was serene and picturesque, surrounded by deep blue waters and lush greenery. For decades, it had been a retreat for young members of the Labour Party Youth League. That weekend, over 500 teenagers had gathered for the annual summer camp. They were bright-eyed dreamers, future leaders, passionate about politics, activism, and making a world a better place. The island buzzed with life. Teenagers laughed, debated, and enjoyed the summer breeze. Some played games near the shore. Others attended a workshop in the main building. For them, Utoya was a sanctuary, a place to connect, share ideas, and envision a brighter future. At 5:21 p.m., the first shots rang out. Guardsmen of an island and a woman who was head of a camp were shot first in the head. Panic spread instantly. Campers froze. Some were unsure if it was fireworks or something far worse. Then came a realization. It was real. People screamed, running in every direction. Some ran towards the woods. Others jumped into the icy water surrounding the island. By 5:23 p.m., Breivik approached the cafeteria. His methodical movements sent waves of terror through the crowd. Those who couldn't flee hid under the tables or behind the chairs, praying not to be seen. Gunshots echoed across the island, each one marking another life lost. Survivors later described scenes of sheer terror. One camper recounted diving into the frigid lake, staying submerged as long as possible to avoid detection. Another hid under a pile of leaves, trembling as footsteps grew closer. Breivik moved with precision, targeting anyone he saw. By 5:31 p.m., he began walking through the forest, hunting down survivors. By this point, he already killed 21 people. The dense trees offered a little cover. Campers tried to stay quiet, holding their breath as the footsteps grew closer, but the silence couldn't save everyone. Another 15 died in those woods, their cries cutting through the evening air. By 5:45, desperation mounted. Survivors climbed cliffs, swam long distances, or hid everywhere they could. Each moment felt like an eternity as gunfire echoed relentlessly. 6:07 p.m. The death toll had reached 49. The island was now a maze of fear. Survivors darted through the trees, the breath shallow and uneven. Some clung to cliffs, waging their chances of survival against the icy water below. Others dashed into woods, hoping the dense foliage would shield them. But the forest offered little refuge. The crunch of leaves betrayed their movements, and Breivik's steady footsteps grew closer with every passing second. For those who ran, the terrain was unforgiving. The uneven ground, covered in moss and loose stone, made footing treacherous. Many slipped, scraping their feet or sinking into mud. The cold water became both a lifeline and a hazard. Some swam desperately towards the mainland, their muscles burning as they fought with cold water. Others submerged themselves into the shallows, holding the breath to avoid detection. At 6:10 p.m., a glimmer of hope appeared. A few survivors huddled inside a pump house when a figure approached. "It's over," someone whispered. They caught him. Relief washed over them, but it was short-lived. Suddenly, a gunfire erupted. It wasn't the police, it was Breivik. 14 more lives ended in that moment. One survivor described the scene in vivid details. "I saw my friends fall right in front of me." They said later, "There was no time to react, no time to say goodbye. 1 second they were there, and the next, they were gone." By 6:30 p.m., Breivik returned to the southern tip of an island, exhausted but determined. He fired again. The island was eerily quiet by this point. Most survivors had either fled, hidden, or fallen victim to Breivik's rampage. Yet he showed no signs of stopping. His movements were slow now, his breathing heavier, His steps deliberate, but his determination remained unshaken. As he approached the southern tip, he spotted a small group of people huddled together. They likely thought they were safe, perhaps believing he had already moved on. When Breivik appeared, Adrian Precken was standing near a group of 5 others. They had already likely gathered in a desperation attempt to find safety in numbers. But Breivik's arrival left them with no time to react. He opened fire without warning, and chaos erupted. Adrian watched in horror as the people around him collapsed, one by one. Then he felt a sharp pain in his shoulder. A bullet had struck him. The impact knocked him backwards, and he fell to the ground, clutching his wound. Blood seeped through his fingers, but he knew he couldn't afford to cry out or move. Instead, Adrian played dead. He lay motionless, his body trembling, as he listened to Breivik's footsteps grow closer. Each step felt like an eternity, each breath a gamble. If Breivik suspected he was still alive, Adrian knew he wouldn't hesitate to finish the job. After what felt like an eternity, the sound of gunfire ceased. Breivik lowered his weapon and began walking away, leaving Adrian and others behind. For Adrian, the silence that followed was both a relief and a torment. But then something happened. In the distance, Adrian heard voices, human voices, speaking urgently. At first, he thought he might be imagining it, a trick of his exhausted mind. But as the voices grew louder, he realized they were real. Help had finally arrived. At 6:31 p.m., police officer moved swiftly across the island, securing the area and tending to the wounded. The presence brought a sense of order to the chaos, though the scars of the past hour would take far longer to heal. Breivik, for his part, surrendered without any resistance. When officers approached him, he stood calmly, lowering his weapon and raising his hands. There was no struggle, no final act of defiance. Instead, he allowed himself to be taken into custody, his face expressionless as the enormity of his action began to sink in. For the survivors, his surrender was a mix of relief and disbelief. Many had spent the past hour convinced they would never see another sunrise. Now, surrounded by the police officers and paramedics, they were finally safe. But the memories of what they had endured would linger for years to come. One survivor later described the moment she saw the police arriving. "I thought I was dreaming," she said. "I kept thinking, this can't be real. But then I saw the officer's uniform, and I realized it. It was over. We were going to make it." Anders Breivik is now serving a 21-year sentence, which can be extended indefinitely due to Norwegian law. During his trial, he expressed no remorse, claiming his actions were justified by his twisted ideology. He also released a 1,500-page manifesto detailing his beliefs, a document that continues to spark debate about extremists worldwide. But this story isn't about Breivik. It's about the 77 lives lost and the survivors who honor the legacy. For Adrian Precken and countless others, Utoya will remain a place of terror and a powerful reminder of human resilience.